What's going on, everyone? We're chopping the haunt rod. Stick around, it's gonna be a good one. I have the truck somewhat disassembled already off camera. Pulled some of the interior off, door off, started laying it all out for the 3.5 inch chop. So this actually, after the cut widths and stuff, will probably end up around 3 3/4. You can see here, we're basically right at 3.5. There's a few things that we need to go over before we start cutting this thing. So one thing that I want to mention is, you see here, there's like a little bit of damage and stuff right in the area where the cuts are going to be. You'd never, ever, ever want to cut this, but without repairing this, without straightening it out the best you can. So I'm going to go around, straighten out some of the metalwork in those areas before I start cutting. And then we got to get some bracing added in. I've got some 1/2 inch round rod that I'm going to use for bracing. I had it, so that's what I'm going to use. Basically just do a piece across the cab, across the door openings, and then we'll X the door openings as well to prevent the cab from flopping around, moving around too much. I'll get all that done, and then we'll come back to it. We'll plan some cuts. Let's talk about some cuts. I've already got this door top cut, but I stuck the pieces back in here to show you guys what I was dealing with. So this door was really badly damaged. Something absolutely hammered this at some point. To repair this without chopping it, I would have had to go through and cut all these spot welds, cut the cap off, and take the skin off, repair the skin, repair the structure separately, and then put it all back together. Totally doable. I just wanted to chop it anyway. So because I'm chopping it anyway, I just chose to cut this damaged section out. So we pull this out of here. You can really see how mutilated and flattened this was. It was completely distorted to the point where the structure and everything's bent. With these pieces out of here, I can now access the inside of this and be able to manipulate this in any shape that I need. So the lower post is actually fairly straight, not bent too bad. So you can see I've got a little bit of work to do to get that to line up. So that'll be after I get the top done. I might end up having to still cut this cap off here and taking this corner off to repair some of this inner structure. If I can't get in there with enough tools to work some of this out and straighten it out good enough, hopefully I can. But you can see that the door post still kind of curves in here right before the cut line. So I do have some structure to repair there still, but it's a lot less work now that it's cut apart than it was with that piece in there. Let's talk about a few other cuts here. The plan with the A-pillars, I'm going to actually take the outer skin off. So these trucks have a lead seam in them here. This is actually a separate piece from the factory. So there's a lead seam in here somewhere, right? I'm thinking it's right in this corner. I'm not 100% positive. So when I start cutting it apart, if I find some lead, it's not ideal because I was hoping to, like I say, try and preserve some patina. But the correct spot to cut it, as far as making it flow and look right, is going to be right at the corner. Then there's just some spot welds on the inside along the post. So we'll just take those spot welds off and take the caps off. You can see the door posts are tapered. They're wider at the bottom than they are at the top. They get narrower. So because of that, what we'll do, we will do all of the structure stuff first, and it's all going to be above this hinge. So we'll take the cap off, cut the structure, and then we'll take the spot welds apart in all of this. And with the spot welds apart, we should be able to manipulate and twist and squeeze and do whatever we have to do to keep it a straight taper. So it's going to change the angle of the windshield ever so slightly. Just lay it back a hair. The back is actually super straightforward. It's just single layer sheet metal basically everywhere. So we just make 2 nice straight cuts, drop the top back down. All of this structure is completely accessible both sides from inside the cab. So I'll be able to weld that, no issues at all. This chop's one of the easiest chops out there. Like I said, it does have tapered posts, so there is a little bit of manipulation there, but it's not so bad. Let's get some stuff set up and get cutting. Okay, you can see I got the bracing welded in. Nothing too special, just a quick X in the doors, across here to prevent the post from moving in, and across the width to just prevent the cab from moving around too much. It is rock solid. There's no movement in this thing at all. The next thing up is I'm going to take these front caps off. So the plan here is actually going to be to take these spot welds out, like I said, cut across the top, across the bottom, around that corner. And instead of taking these spot welds out, like I had mentioned, this post, if you stand back and look at it, it's wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. We take a section out across here. This post is going to end up wider. The cap is going to end up wider than the post. It's going to have to be narrowed a little bit anyway. So we'll end up having to weld it along this seam either way. So I'm just going to zip cut it along here, make my cuts here and here, take those spot welds out, and get the cap off. Let's get to it. You can see here, what I did is I used a carbide bit, just a rounded tip carbide bit, to grind the spot welds out of the pillar. See, I didn't damage the pillar at all trying to do this. Just grind the tip off the spot welds. Cut it across here. Now you can really see the structure that we're working with. So this structure, if you don't take this cap off, you're not going to be able to weld this layer of structure properly. So taking this cap off to have any kind of structural integrity left in this panel when you're done is super important. So we're going to take our 3.5-inch cut out of here, and then you can see how tapered it is from top to bottom. We'll end up having to make a cut lengthwise in this, and then we will manipulate and tweak and trim this so that it has this same straight edge on it that the windshield is still against. Same thing on the inside. We'll just take these spot welds out, or possibly even just trim it along this edge. If you look inside, might be hard to see on camera, but it is fairly solid back in here. I think the best bet is going to be to trim across this front corner. Same thing. We'll squeeze it, we'll pull it as we need to, and then we can re-weld this corner up. So we can regain all of the structural integrity by taking the caps off. It's a little more work, but it's done right. So I'll get the other cap off, do that off camera, and then we'll get our cuts laid out, and we're gonna hack the roof off this thing. Got everything laid out. We are ready to start cutting. So I cleaned up some of the rust on this stuff. This is the other thing. Now that these caps are off, we can actually like coat the inside of all of this. Clean it all up, coat it all with some rust paint before we put it all back together to help this thing live as long as it can. Well, I've got my selection of weapons set aside here. Using the really thin zip cut discs. They're like the same thickness as these 3-inch ones. They're like 45 thou or whatever. Fine metal cutting saw blade in the Sawzall. Get the tripod set up and get to it. All of our cuts are made. Nothing moved, nothing jumped around. Everything lines up perfectly still, even though the cuts are made. See, it's completely separate. That shows that our bracing held everything perfectly in alignment. Nothing moved. If anybody needs a really good deal on a 1932 to 1934 Ford pickup unchop kit, hit me up. I got a really good deal for you. Anyway, we're going to go around and just clean up all these edges. There's lots of just this little bit of crap. So we'll go around, clean this up. Well, the roof cap is off as well. I'm going to flip this over on a stand, I think, and I've got the opportunity now with the roof off that I have super easy access to be able to hammer and dolly some of this a little bit better. Rather than do it in the future with, trying to do it with the roof on, let's just do it now. I see no reason not to. So we'll get that dealt with and get this roof set back on. Might be difficult by myself, so I might try to line up a buddy. See how it goes. Had a buddy come over, help me set the roof back on. Thanks for stopping by, Sky. New window heights look absolutely fantastic. That view out the windshield, oh, it's gonna be so killer. Got really nice fit up on all of my panels here. The posts line up nice. So the first step here is gonna be to clean this stuff up, get the back side of these posts fit perfectly. Get both sides of these welded solid across here after they fit nice. Make sure they're straight with a straight edge. You can see here the misalignment with the taper and the post. So we're gonna have to cut these, but I need to make sure it's straight and solid first. We'll get these welded up, probably tack the back four corners and around the window possibly. Then start working on tweaking all this. Let's get going. Okay, we got all four posts welded, tacked in where they need to be. Really burnt these front ones in. This is the structure of the cab. You can see it's actually some pretty thick metal. It's, well over a 1/16 thick. I'm not sure what gauge it would be, but it's pretty thick. So really burnt that in. Got all the corners tacked, fitted, lined up perfectly. Sheet metal's all lined up nice. around the window. This is what I was saying. I wanted to make sure that all of the end intersecting points fit perfect. The sheet metal can all be, you know, pushed and manipulated and put where we need it. The interesting thing here is I actually assumed these rear posts were perfectly straight. They weren't tapered at all, but it actually looks like there is an ever so slight taper in these posts. So we are gonna have to relief cut it up here as well and realign that inside edge. So we'll get all that done and then we can start fitting this post. Give you guys a closer look at the cuts here now that they're completed. So you can see I cut the top section of the post and spread it a little bit. And then we cut this and took a wedge cut out of it and closed it up. So we got the front of the post lined up. The taper is nice and straight. Everything lines up nice and smooth. So we got to go in, weld all this stuff back up, weld full length, weld all this solid, and then we can start fitting the cap. Ahead off camera and got the other A-pillar finished up. I feel like I don't need to bore you guys with 45 minutes of time lapse. So you can see everything lines up perfectly. There's no misalignment in these posts at all. That taper is really nice. So we got to fit the outer cap still. But first, before I do that, I want to get this structure finished up. So you can see this misalignment at the back edge here. We'll get this cut a little bit here, cleaned up, and realign this and give this a weld. We'll finish this structure up so we can get all this cross bracing cut out before I finish up. Let's get to it. last thing I'm going to do tonight before I call it a night is I'm going to weld across here. But before I do that, you can see I've got a bit of a gap there and it's a little tighter. I'm going to take a zip cut disc, make this gap perfectly uniform. We'll go through and we'll clamp it all with some butt weld clamps. By keeping that gap uniform, you're going to have the opportunity to keep the warpage consistent. The idea here, if you've got a tight spot, it's going to create more pressure than it does in a loose spot. So you want to make sure that you have a consistent gap. Some guys use TIG welding and with no gap, and I do believe that that is the ultimate best way. However, I'm trying to preserve the patina, and to do a TIG weld across here, you would need to do a one continuous solid bead, and your heat effect zone ends up pretty big. We're going to destroy more paint than necessary. So I want to try and just MIG all of this, not TIG it. So let's get that dealt with. The other thing I'm going to do tonight before I go in for the night is I'm going to paint the inside of these posts and inside of the roof caps. I'm going to clean this stuff up, hit it with some rust check. Just give it a chance to, you know, survive a little longer instead of just having some bare metal in there. So let's get you guys set up, get to it. See, we got the back of the cab all welded up, ground smooth, nice surface finish, real nice welds. Got all the inside of everything painted with some rust paint, did a couple coats, seal it up good. I think we can get away here with cutting the 3.5 inches off the top of these. I'm going to leave a little bit of room because I'm going to have to angle this back, trim the back edge a little bit, trim in this area around the hinge to fit a little better because the angle of that post has changed. So this now leans back. So it'll be simple. Clean these spots up around the spot welds in the front here. Just redo the spot welds, get everything fitted, weld them on. Let's get going. Time to start fitting the door tops. So lots of important stuff's got to happen here. Everything's got to line up perfectly in the door window frame. Lots of edges to line up. Needs to be enough gap around the top to, like, you know, make sure that this isn't rubbing on the roof. Don't want this thing rubbing, squeaking, going down the road. So you need to make sure that there's clearance on everything. So I'm gonna use a straight edge to kind of line the edges up on the surface, make sure everything lines up, do a little grinding, trimming as needed, and then we'll get these welded on. Okay, passenger side door top is all fitted up, super nice. This side was a piece of cake. Everything lines up great. No issues at all. Driver's side, on the other hand, it fits okay at the front post. Lines up good. The inner lines up fine here. But this outer, because of that damage that this door took, is really misaligned, really screwed up. You can see the inner structure here is completely misaligned as well. It's like the top of this is all rolled and bent. So I think the best plan of attack is going to be to cut this skin here, take it off, undo the hem flange at the top of the door and down here, repair all of this cap separately. We'll fit the inner door structure, weld the post, front and rear, and then get the cap back on. Let's get going. Driver's side is all fitted and tacked up. What a nightmare. So, the front post, no big deal. That one lined up nice. I did manage to get the inner side lined up pretty good. This here, I'm going to end up having to cut this here still. Push this over and create a nice even gap here for the window run channel to go in. You can see, cutting that cap off, I was able to hammer and dolly that damage out. But it did break this hem flange off that folds over. You can see it actually broke all the way down to here, well beyond where I was working. You can see this door is pretty beat up. So in the future, I'm going to have to address all of this. I will weld this back up along this edge for now. Grind it smooth, kind of touch it in. But door top's done. Just got some final welding to do. I'll do all that off camera. This video is getting pretty long. But overall, The attitude adjustment of that 3.5-inch chop on this truck is absolutely perfect. To me, this is the perfect height chop on this thing. I still have about 4 inches of headroom. I can see out the windows with just turning my head. I don't got to duck and poke out. Drivability is still going to be great. And it gives it that perfect hot rod look. But anyway, guys, if you like this video, follow along. Next one's going to be doing the glass, shortening the windshield frame. We're going to make glass templates for the door glass. Get all the interior trim pieces buttoned up. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good one, guys.